This story I'm about to tell you regarding a migrant committing sexual crime in Ireland is very anger-inducing. It's really shocking. He's just the victim, and the story gets worse and worse as it goes along, and it has really big implications for the women of Ireland. Mohammed Kashif was convicted of sexually assaulting a co-worker at a fast food restaurant in Limerick. In court, Judge Patricia Harney decided that the appropriate punishment for that would be to give him a 2-month sentence suspended for 2 years, and she acknowledged that because she didn't give him any jail time, he wouldn't be able to go on a sex offenders register. He subsequently got employment at Aldi, and someone, after a while, furnished them with the truth about Kashif by giving them a newspaper article. I had great difficulty finding the newspaper article on this story, and all of the usual suspects like RTE didn't report on it in the first instance. Understandably, when Aldi found out what Kashif had done and determined that he was a risk to their female staff, they dismissed him. Kashif brought Aldi then to the Workplace Relations Commission. The Workplace Relations Commission, of course, found in favour of Kashif and decided that Aldi had acted totally unreasonably in dismissing a sexual offender who had also, by the way, hidden what he had done. They didn't find that it would be appropriate for Aldi to dismiss this person, despite the fact that significantly he chose to commit his predatory sexual crime in the workplace. Kashif claimed that the sexual assault had been dealt with in court and that Aldi had put him on a second trial. Boo. Who cares? The WRC never pointed out that there was no original trial, because Kashif had to plead guilty because of the evidence against him. In that original case, in sentencing, his defence barrister argued that Kashif had shown remorse and had taken responsibility for what he'd done by constantly ringing and harassing and intimidating, although he didn't phrase it that way, but that's what Kashif did. He was ringing the woman every single day for a week after the assault, saying that he was sorry. I mean, anyone with a bit of sense knows that he obviously wasn't sorry and he was trying to get her to drop the case. Now, I'm not surprised that the defence barrister used this argument, to try and paint his client as a good person, but the fact that the judge listened to this is repugnant. This was one of the reasons she gave no jail time, and yet she went on to ban Kashif from contacting the victim or the victim's husband as part of his conditions for his suspended sentence. Kashif, of course, claims that he told Aldi about his conviction, but they maintain that they found out through a third party. The area manager for Aldi said that she was really struck by the gravity of the offence when she found out what Kashif had done and what he had been convicted of. Aldi say they dismissed Kashif on the basis of the complainant's contract of employment, allowing for summary dismissal for serious breaches which include conviction of any criminal offence. The adjudicating officer for the WRC said that Aldi had been overwhelmed by the latter-day citing of a news report and just got lost in its anticipation of harm to its business. So in other words, they're accusing Aldi of not caring about their female staff, but instead just caring about the business's reputation. And to be fair, it's okay for them to worry about their reputation. It probably isn't great for business to have a convicted sexual offender working in your store. And if he did go on to assault anybody, like a female co-worker, the female co-worker could then take Aldi to the Workplace Relations Commission for virtue of the fact that they didn't protect Kashif's co-worker from sexual assault. The WRC decided that because Kashif had not sexually attacked any of his co-workers during the time in which he worked in Aldi, then that meant that he's a very safe person to be around and will never ever be a risk to women again. Aldi said that they couldn't just transfer Kashif because all 160 of their stores have female staff. They also said that they weren't happy with Kashif's manager when she found out about the conviction in the time before he was actually let go. She arranged for Kashif to call on a colleague to help him if the victim or her husband entered the store. Again, Kashif is the victim. Counsel for Kashif argued that ending his employment was disproportionate and had caused reputational damage to his client. Now, I think the person who caused reputational damage to Kashif was Kashif by committing a sexual assault in the first place. At every stage throughout this sorry saga, Kashif was never really punished. He's now €5,000 richer because of this WRC ruling. He received no jail time. He's not on the sex offenders register. He actually received a lot of empathy, both in court and with the WRC. What message does this send to other would-be offenders? And would he have been treated the same if he was Irish? In her adjudication, WRC officer Patsy Doyle decided that what had happened to Kashif was very unfair, that his dismissal was disproportionate based on the fact that he was a convicted sexual predator. She also stated that the situation was a grave one for Aldi, so it's hard to understand then why she found in favour of Kashif. Miss Doyle said that she could understand that Aldi were staggered on sight at the media reports of what Kashif had done, but that this was no reason to dismiss him, and that they had not acted in good faith. But apparently she thinks that Kashif acted in good faith, the sexual predator. She said that Aldi obviously faced a monumental challenge when they found out what Kashif had done, but that they should have given Kashif some respect for his unblemished work record. So, what implications does this case have? Well, it means that women don't just have to worry about walking down the street anymore. They have to worry about who's working in their environment where they should be safe. Why does a convicted sexual predator have more rights than these women? It's not even clear if Aldi could have disclosed to the staff what Kashif had done without breaching his so-called rights. So in summary, this is another migrant sexual crime where the perpetrator walked free, had no repercussions whatsoever, is now actually working as a pizza chef. So be careful where you get your pizzas from, particularly if you live in Limerick. It's just astonishing. It's very worrying, and you'd wonder where we're going to end up with all of this. So I'll leave it there, and maybe you can let me know what you think about this case.